Michael Turner lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where no one suspected danger. To his neighbors, he was an ordinary man who kept to himself, but online, under a fake Roblox avatar, Michael became someone else entirely. He blended into games designed for children, hiding his true identity while searching for vulnerable targets. What no one knew was that investigators were already watching, building a case that would expose his darkest secrets. This is the story of how a Roblox predator realized too late that he was the one being hunted. The quiet suburban neighborhood never suspected anything unusual about the man who lived in the small house at the end of the street. He kept to himself, rarely socialized, and often stayed indoors with his curtains drawn tight. To outsiders, he seemed like an ordinary person who simply preferred his own company. Yet behind those closed doors, his world revolved around a computer screen that lit up his darkened room each night. This was where he spent hours building an identity that was nothing like his own. His chosen playground was Roblox, a game designed to entertain children with colorful avatars, virtual adventures, and imaginative spaces. For him, however, it wasn't about fun. It was about finding ways to slip into conversations with kids who were too young to notice the danger. At first, his presence was harmless and nearly invisible. He joined random servers, played casual games, and kept his tone light. His strategy was simple: blend in. Over time, he learned the unspoken rules of the platform, understanding how kids interacted, what made them laugh, and what made them feel safe. With each interaction, he sharpened his ability to mimic the carefree energy of the young players around him. His avatar was designed to look playful and non-threatening, a cartoon figure that gave no hint of the man controlling it. He tested small boundaries, slipping in subtle questions, always careful not to reveal too much at once. To him, it was a game of patience, and the children were pieces on his board. He spent hours studying profiles, watching for signs of vulnerability. Children who mentioned feeling lonely or bored immediately caught his attention. These were the ones he could draw in with easy conversations and promises of friendship. He told himself he was clever, that no one would ever notice the difference between him and the real kids he pretended to be. With every keystroke, he built trust brick by brick, making himself a constant presence in their virtual lives. But what he failed to realize was that patterns leave trails, and trails can be followed. Though he believed he was hiding in the safety of anonymity, the very actions that gave him power also exposed him. While his world revolved around manipulation and secrecy, somewhere beyond his awareness, the pieces of his downfall were already being set into motion. His double life, hidden behind a glowing screen, had only just begun, but so too had the forces that would eventually bring it crashing down. The man's confidence grew with every passing day. The quiet thrill of slipping unnoticed among children online gave him a sense of power he had never experienced in his ordinary life. He believed the digital world was a perfect shield, a place where he could be anyone without consequence. Slowly, he crafted routines that became second nature. He logged in at the same hours, always searching for the same types of players, and began favoring private messages over public chats. With patience, he cultivated small circles of trust, weaving himself into the lives of children who saw him only as another playful avatar. To them, he was harmless company during late-night gaming sessions. To him, they were pawns in a much darker game. One child in particular stood out. The man sensed a certain vulnerability, the kind he knew how to exploit. The child often typed about feeling left out at school and wishing for a friend who understood. That vulnerability was an open invitation, and the man stepped in without hesitation. He provided comfort, told stories meant to sound relatable, and offered validation. The child wasn't receiving elsewhere. Hours turned into days, and soon the child was spending more time with this mysterious new friend than with real-life family or peers. For the predator, it was proof of his control. What he never considered was that the shift in behavior did not go unnoticed at home. The child's parent began spotting signs of something unusual. Dinner conversations grew shorter, the once cheerful energy seemed dimmer, and the computer became a guarded space. Questions about online friends were met with vague answers and quick changes of subject. These subtle shifts rang alarm bells, and one evening, curiosity turned to suspicion. Quietly, the parent accessed the device and scrolled through recent activity. What they discovered made their heart race: an unfamiliar username that appeared again and again, tucked into private messages filled with strange attention and excessive friendliness. Instead of confronting the child immediately, the parent chose a different path. They took screenshots, recorded usernames, and contacted a specialized organization dedicated to tracking online predators. That single decision marked the beginning of a much larger investigation. While the man carried on, believing his cover remained intact, professionals had begun watching his every move. Every message he sent, every game he joined, and every attempt to draw closer was now evidence building silently against him. What he thought was his growing dominance was, in truth, the first steps toward his unraveling. Investigators moved carefully, aware that one wrong step could alert the man and cause him to vanish deeper into the online world. The organization that had been contacted worked closely with law enforcement, creating profiles designed to look like children. Each account was tailored with believable details, avatars that fit in, chat histories that appeared natural, and interests that matched the kind of players the man usually targeted. These digital decoys blended seamlessly into the Roblox environment, waiting patiently for him to notice. It did not take long. The predator, confident in his methods, gravitated toward the new accounts almost instantly, as if he had stumbled across the perfect opportunities. Every interaction was carefully logged. The investigators collected timestamps, saved messages, and tracked his patterns of behavior. They learned what servers he preferred, what times he was most active, and the subtle ways he shifted conversations from playful banter to something more personal. On the surface, he appeared casual, but the agents could see the strategy behind his words. He was testing boundaries, pushing little by little, watching for reactions. To an untrained eye, the messages might have seemed innocent. To professionals, they revealed a dangerous progression that mirrored the tactics of countless predators before him. The man never suspected that every keystroke was tightening the walls around him. He believed he had found new children to manipulate, blind to the fact that the kids he messaged were investigators waiting for him to incriminate himself. Weeks passed, and he grew reckless. His conversations became more direct, and his attempts to draw the supposed children closer intensified. Behind the scenes, agents cross-referenced his online activity with his real identity. Slowly, they built a file that connected his anonymous avatar to the quiet man in the suburban house. His IP address, login patterns, and even minor slips in conversation left breadcrumbs leading straight back to him. As the evidence mounted, the predator felt more in control than ever. He believed he had mastered the art of deception, that his secret life was hidden behind the safety of the screen. What he didn't realize was that the very confidence making him bolder was also the trap closing in. With every move he made, the investigator's case grew stronger. His online playground, once a place where he thought he could act without fear, was no longer his domain. It had become the stage where his downfall was being scripted in silence. The plan to catch him unfolded with precision. Investigators knew they needed him to make a move outside the safety of the screen, something that would strip away the anonymity he relied on. Using the decoy profiles, they carefully steered conversations toward the idea of meeting in person. The man, intoxicated by the sense of power he believed he held, took the bait without hesitation. He imagined the encounter as the ultimate confirmation of his control, never questioning why everything seemed to fall so easily into place. When a meeting location was suggested, he agreed quickly, convinced that he had orchestrated it all. In the days leading up to the meeting, he prepared with an unsettling mix of nervous energy and excitement. He rehearsed what he might say, considered what impression he wanted to make, and checked the location on his phone multiple times. To him, it felt like a secret victory, the culmination of weeks of planning and manipulation. Yet he had no idea that the parking lot he planned to visit was already under surveillance, with unmarked cars positioned discreetly around the area. Every angle was covered, every possible escape route anticipated. When the day arrived, he set out with determination. The drive was short, but to him it felt like the longest journey of his life. His thoughts raced, fueled by adrenaline and arrogance. As he pulled into the designated spot, his eyes scanned the surroundings nervously, but he convinced himself that everything was normal. He stepped out of his car, expecting to see a child waiting, but the reality hit him in an instant. From all sides, officers emerged, surrounding him with speed and precision. The predator froze, his confidence shattering as quickly as it had formed. Cameras captured the moment, recording the look of shock spreading across his face. He had believed for so long that he was the hunter, hidden in the shadows of a virtual world. Yet in this moment he was nothing more than prey caught in a trap. His mind raced for explanations, for a way to undo what was happening. But there was no escape. The evidence was overwhelming, the net too tightly woven. As officers placed him in handcuffs, the realization finally struck. Every word he had typed, every lie he had told, had been leading him here. His digital empire of secrecy had collapsed in a single, irreversible moment. News of the arrest spread quickly, shaking the quiet neighborhood where the man had lived unnoticed for years. Neighbors who once described him as quiet and ordinary now struggled to reconcile that image with the reality of the crimes unfolding in court. Parents in the community felt a chill knowing that someone who seemed so unremarkable had been hiding such a dangerous secret. The story became headline news, not just because of the crime itself, but because it highlighted the hidden dangers of spaces that were meant for children. Roblox, once seen as a harmless pastime, was now under scrutiny as parents questioned just how safe their children truly were online. In the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense. Prosecutors laid out a detailed case built from months of evidence. Chat logs were displayed on screens, exposing the manipulative tactics he had used. Every word was a reminder of the trust he had violated. Investigators testified about how they created decoys, how the man had walked straight into their carefully laid trap, and how he had ignored every opportunity to stop himself. His defense had little to offer in return. The mountain of proof was overwhelming, leaving no doubt about his intentions and his guilt. For the man who once believed he could hide forever behind a computer screen, the experience was crushing. He sat silently, no longer in control, as strangers dissected his double life for the world to see. The mask he had worn online was gone, replaced by the reality of who he truly was. Every secret had been dragged into the open, and the sense of power he once clung to was replaced by the weight of exposure. His sentencing came swiftly, a clear message that his actions would not be tolerated. Outside the courtroom, the community tried to heal. Parents tightened their supervision. Schools offered lessons on online safety, and families had long conversations about trust and vigilance. Though the man's arrest brought relief, it also left a scar, a reminder that danger could exist even in places designed to be fun and innocent. For the predator, the realization was final and absolute. He had never been the master of the game he thought he controlled. From the very beginning, his path had been leading toward capture. The illusion of safety and secrecy was gone forever, replaced by the cold truth of a life defined not by control, but by the moment he was caught.